Before cities glowed with electric light, before screens and satellites, before our lives were tethered to ticking clocks, there was only the night. The darkness stretched endlessly above, a black ocean freckled with the light of 1 billion distant suns. Imagine lying beneath that ancient sky. The air is still. The horizon glows faintly with the fading warmth of the day. The first stars begin to shimmer, tiny, delicate beacons appearing one by one, like fireflies waking in the heavens. To our earliest ancestors, this sight was not routine. It was sacred. The night sky was both a mystery and a map, a mirror of the soul, and a reminder of how small, and yet how infinite, life could be. As you close your eyes, picture that world. There are no cities here, no noise, no rush, no walls between you and the cosmos. You lie on cool earth, the scent of grass and dust in the air. The Milky Way, a river of stars, flows across the heavens. Its glow is so bright you could walk by it. Long before the word astronomy existed, humans began to look up and wonder. They noticed patterns, constellations that returned every year, the moon that swelled and shrank, the wandering stars we now call planets. Each movement whispered a story. At first, the stars were companions, silent witnesses to the rhythm of survival. The rising of a certain star might signal the flood of a river, the time to plant, or the return of migrating herds. The sky became a clock, a calendar, and a compass all at once. But it was more than that. To those who first gazed upward, the heavens were alive, filled with spirits, gods, and memories of the departed. The cosmos wasn't something distant. It was woven into their lives, their myths, their dreams. As the night deepens, feel yourself sinking into that wonder. The stars seem to move slowly, sweeping across the dome of the sky. Time loses meaning. The world becomes still. You breathe in slowly. You breathe out gently. The same air that has drifted beneath these stars for 100,000 years. In every corner of the ancient world, humans looked up and began to measure, not just distances or times, but meaning itself. They carved marks into stone, aligned temples to the sunrise, and passed down stories that stretched across generations. The sky was their storybook. Every flicker of light had a purpose, every shadow a secret. Soon, those quiet observers would become the first astronomers, though they didn't know the word yet. They simply followed curiosity wherever it led, and it led them upward. So, let us drift there now, beyond the walls of modern life, beyond the noise of machines and cities. Let us travel back to the cradle of stargazing. You find yourself standing on warm sand beneath a vast and ancient sky. The horizon glows with the faintest embers of a fading sun, and one by one the stars begin to return. Their light is older than any story we know, older than any city, older than memory itself. This is Mesopotamia, the land between the rivers, cradle of civilization. Here, long before telescopes or compasses, people watched the heavens from the rooftops of clay-built cities. High above the world, they built ziggurats, tiered towers of mud brick that reached toward the sky like stairways for the gods. At the top of these temples, priests stood beneath the stars, recording what they saw. Each night, they traced the dance of Venus, the march of Mars, the rising of the constellations. They carved their observations into wet clay, pressing symbols that would one day become the earliest star catalogs in human history. They didn't just see dots of light. They saw signs, messages written across the heavens. The gods spoke through the stars. A bright appearance of Jupiter might foretell a great victory. A darkened moon, an omen of loss. The sky became a divine language, one that demanded devotion, precision, and awe. Imagine the stillness of those nights, the whisper of reeds by the river, the slow flow of the Euphrates, and above, the endless, patient movement of the stars. Thousands of years before the birth of modern science, these early astronomers began to measure time by the heavens. They marked the solstices and equinoxes, the turning points of the year. They divided the sky into constellations, the same ones we still know today: Taurus, Leo, Scorpio. Each was more than a pattern. It was a story, a myth that turned the cold geometry of the cosmos into something deeply human. Now, let us move west, to the banks of the Nile. In ancient Egypt, the stars were sacred too, but here they were tied to life itself. Each year, the Nile flooded, bringing new soil and sustenance to the people who lived along its shores. And every year, the priests of Egypt looked to one bright star to know when it would come. That star was Sirius, the star of the goddess Isis. When Sirius rose just before dawn after a long absence, it was a sign. The flood was near. This moment, repeated every year, became the heartbeat of Egyptian civilization. From it came their calendar, their seasons, their rhythm of life. But Egypt's fascination with the heavens went far beyond the river. The pyramids themselves were aligned with the celestial precision. Their sides faced the cardinal points, north, south, east, and west, with uncanny accuracy. The shafts within the Great Pyramid point toward stars that were considered the homes of the gods. To the ancient Egyptians, death was not an ending, but a journey, and that journey began among the stars. Imagine standing before the Great Pyramid at Giza under a clear night sky. The stones, worn smooth by time, seem to glow faintly in the starlight. Above, Orion rises, the celestial hunter, whom the Egyptians saw as Osiris, god of the afterlife. The soul of the pharaoh was believed to ascend along those shafts, rising into eternity to join the stars. Each stone, each shadow, was placed not just by human hands, but guided by celestial intent. To build on earth, they first measured the heavens. Now we travel north, across seas and green fields, to the misty lands of ancient Europe. Here, long before written history, people gathered stones, great slabs of rock, and lifted them into circles. Their names are lost to time, but their monuments remain. The most famous of all, Stonehenge. It rises from the plains of southern England like a crown of stone. Even now, it feels alive, as if the stones still remember why they were placed. On the summer solstice, the sun rises in perfect alignment with the great stones at the center. On the winter solstice, it sets through the opposite arch, casting long shadows that mark the end of the sun's journey. These alignments were not accidents. They were the result of centuries of careful observation, of watching the horizon, marking the path of the sun, and understanding its rhythm. Stonehenge was both temple and timekeeper, a monument that turned the turning of the heavens into something human and sacred. Imagine standing within that circle thousands of years ago, the cold air of dawn on your skin, the breath of animals, the murmurs of a gathered tribe. Then, the first light of the sun, cresting perfectly over the horizon, spilling golden fire through the stones. For a brief moment, heaven and earth met, and those who watched knew they were part of something vast, something eternal. From Mesopotamia's clay tablets to Egypt's celestial pyramids to the silent stones of Britain, humanity was learning the same lesson again and again. That the sky was not separate from us. It was the reflection of our place in the universe. These were the first astronomers. builders, priests, dreamers. They did not look through glass lenses or measure light with machines. They looked with wonder. They measured with faith, and what they saw would echo through time, shaping the way all future generations would see the cosmos. Tonight, as you drift deeper into rest, imagine those first watchers of the sky, their eyes reflecting the same stars you see now, their hearts filled with the same quiet questions. The stars have not changed. Only we have. Across the wide oceans of the Pacific, under skies untouched by city light, there sailed people who knew the stars better than anyone before them. Long before compasses or charts, the Polynesian navigators learned to read the heavens as if it were a living map. Imagine standing on the deck of a wooden canoe, the waves steady and deep beneath you. Above, the night sky stretches in every direction, bright and endless. Every star has a name, every pattern a meaning. To the Polynesians, the heavens were a compass, a calendar, and a trusted companion. They watched how stars rose and fell on the horizon, how the moon shifted with each passing night. They memorized where each constellation appeared during different seasons, and how the color of the sea, the direction of the wind, and the flight of birds could all confirm their course. No instruments, no written maps, just knowledge carried in memory, passed down through chants and stories. They built star compasses in their minds, with each point representing a star that guided them across the ocean. Even when clouds hid the sky, they could feel direction in the rhythm of the waves. Their journeys connected islands separated by thousands of miles, proving that humanity's understanding of the cosmos was not confined to temples or cities. It lived in motion, in courage, in trust. The sea and the sky were one, and to navigate either was to understand both. Far to the north, another civilization was watching the stars, one that would shape the rhythm of time itself. In ancient China, astronomy became the science of emperors. The heavens were seen as a reflection of earthly order. To rule the land, the emperor had to rule in harmony with the cosmos. If a comet appeared, or if the planets aligned in unusual ways, it could be read as a sign, approval, or warning from the heavens. Astronomers became guardians of destiny. High upon observatory towers, they watched the skies through bamboo tubes and recorded what they saw on silk scrolls. They marked eclipses, tracked the paths of the moon, and refined calendars that aligned the movements of heaven and earth. They noticed that the North Star, still and constant in the sky, was a symbol of stability, just as the emperor was meant to be the still center of the world. From this belief came the mandate of heaven, the idea that rulers governed with celestial approval. The heavens did not just guide their timekeeping, they guided their philosophy. For the Chinese, astronomy was not only about prediction, it was about balance. Yin and yang, light and dark, day and night. All things, even the stars, were part of a single harmonious design. Now, across the world and across the centuries, another people were looking upward, in the deep jungles and high mountains of Central America. The Olmec, and later the Maya, developed a fascination with the sky that would become one of the most advanced of the ancient world. The Maya built great cities of stone, filled with temples and pyramids that rose toward the heavens. Their priests studied the sun, the moon, and the planets with astonishing precision. They could predict eclipses, track the cycles of Venus, and measure the length of a solar year more accurately than almost any other civilization of their time. For them, the sky was a divine order, not chaos but rhythm. The movements of the heavens were woven into their mythology. The sun god traveled through the underworld each night to rise again in the morning. Venus was the bringer of war, its rising marking times of change and conflict, and each star, each motion, was carefully recorded in carved stone and painted codices. Their calendar, intricate and sacred, was both practical and spiritual. It guided harvests, rituals, and prophecies. Every cycle had meaning. Every pattern reflected the heartbeat of the cosmos. In the great city of Chichen Itza, one pyramid still stands aligned with the sky. El Castillo, the Temple of Kukulkan. During the equinox, as the sun sets, shadows fall on its steps to form the image of a serpent winding down its side, a celestial illusion carved from light and time. The people would gather and watch in silence as heaven and earth spoke through geometry and shadow. From the Pacific waves to the Chinese mountains to the jungles of Mesoamerica, humanity was learning to read the sky not just as mystery but as method. Each civilization looked upward and saw a story written in light. Each one found meaning in the turning of the heavens. Though they lived worlds apart, their hearts were tuned to the same rhythm, the slow, steady pulse of the stars. And as night after night passed over them, they came to understand a truth that would guide every future age. The universe was not beyond reach. It was part of us. And perhaps, as you lie here now, eyes heavy, drifting in thought, you can feel that same quiet connection, that same sense of wonder that filled those ancient minds as they gazed into the infinite. The stars above you are the same ones they saw, the same lights that led them home. And somewhere, across the centuries, those old navigators still sail beneath that endless sky, guided, as we all are, by the gentle rhythm of the stars. The stars had guided humanity for millennia, but in time, something began to change. The heavens were no longer only a source of myth or direction, they became a question whispered through the night, carried on the wind between one age and the next. What lies beyond the stars? What are they, really? In ancient Greece, that question grew louder. Here, on the hillsides and islands of the Aegean, the sky became a place not only of gods, but of thought. For the first time, people began to wonder if the heavens might be explained not just by stories, but by reason. The philosopher Thales of Miletus looked up and suggested that the universe followed natural laws, that the stars were not divine fires, but something that could be understood. To him, this was not blasphemy but beauty. If the universe could be understood, then so could we. His student Anaximander took it further, imagining the earth not as a flat surface resting on water, but as a body suspended in space, free and unsupported. It was an idea so strange, so daring, that it seemed impossible. And yet it was closer to the truth than anyone before him had ever guessed. Soon others would follow. Pythagoras, who saw numbers as the language of the cosmos. He believed that everything, from the movement of the planets to the harmony of music, followed mathematical patterns. To him, the universe was a symphony, a perfect balance of proportion and order. He called it the music of the spheres, the silent harmony that underlies all creation. And then came Aristotle, who gave the heavens their first structure. He imagined a cosmos made of crystal spheres, each carrying the sun, the moon, the planets, and the stars around the earth. To Aristotle, the earth was the center, still and unmoving, while everything else circled it in divine perfection. It was a vision of balance, of purpose. The stars were eternal, unchanging, perfect, a reflection of the divine order that governed all things. For centuries, that model brought comfort. It made sense of the universe and gave humanity a place within it. But the truth was still waiting, hidden beyond sight. In the great city of Alexandria, on the northern coast of Egypt, knowledge gathered like starlight. Here stood the greatest library of the ancient world, a sanctuary of scrolls and scholars. Astronomers, mathematicians, and philosophers came from across the known world to study the heavens. In those halls, under the flicker of oil lamps, they built the foundations of science. It was here that Eratosthenes measured the earth itself. By watching the shadow cast by the sun at two different cities, he calculated the circumference of the planet with astonishing accuracy, over 2,000 years before satellites or modern instruments. He saw that the earth was not flat but round, and that its size could be measured with the light of the sun and the logic of the mind. And it was here, too, that Claudius Ptolemy built the first great system of the cosmos. He refined Aristotle's model, describing how the planets moved in perfect circles around the earth. He wrote a book called the Almagest, a masterpiece that would guide astronomers for nearly 1,500 years. Though his model was not correct, it was complete. A map of the heavens that made sense of what could be seen, even if it did not yet reveal what truly was. Through these thinkers, the stars became a mirror for reason itself. The universe was no longer only a story told by gods, it was a puzzle to be solved by human thought. The heavens whispered their secrets, and for the first time, humanity was beginning to listen with curiosity rather than fear. But what is wonder, if not a bridge between mystery and understanding? Even as they measured and mapped, the ancient astronomers still spoke with reverence. They saw that knowledge did not destroy beauty, it deepened it. Each discovery was another note in the grand harmony of existence. As you rest here now, imagine yourself among them. A scholar beneath a starlit sky, a wax tablet in your lap, the ink barely visible in the faint glow of a distant oil lamp. You tilt your head upward, watching Jupiter trace its path across the night, slow and deliberate. You make a mark, you breathe, and in that small moment, you are part of something that stretches across time, the same search, the same quiet awe, the same unending curiosity that binds every human who has ever looked to the stars. The universe has always whispered to us, through myth, through mathematics, through the silence of the night sky. And in that whisper is both the question and the answer, that to seek the cosmos is to seek ourselves. Soon, others will take up that whisper. They will build upon what came before and begin to challenge everything once believed to be true. The earth will lose its place at the center. The stars will become sons of their own, and humanity will awaken to the vastness of the universe. But that is for another time. For now, you can rest. Let your mind drift among the constellations. Feel the quiet hum of the cosmos, the same gentle rhythm that carried the thoughts of those first philosophers and dreamers. The stars are still whispering. All you need to do is listen. The night has deepened, the air is still. Above you, the sky stretches forever, filled with the same lights that guided every age before this one. Each star a memory. Each constellation a story written by hands long gone. From the deserts of Mesopotamia to the pyramids of Egypt, from the oceans of Polynesia to the temples of the Maya, and from the thinkers of Greece to the scholars of Alexandria, humanity has never stopped looking upward. The stars have been our teachers, our myths, our maps, and our mirrors. Even now, when their light competes with the glow of our cities, they remain. Distant, silent, eternal. For the ancients, the sky was alive. Every flicker carried meaning. But for us, it is quieter now. We no longer wait for the rising of Sirius to tell us when the river will flood. We no longer mark the equinox by the shadow of a stone. And yet, something within us still turns to the night. A pull we can't quite name. When you look up at the stars, you are not just seeing light, you are seeing time. The glow of some of those distant suns began its journey long before humans spoke their first words. You are watching the past stretched across the heavens. And perhaps that is why the night sky feels so peaceful, because it connects us, across generations, across civilizations, across all of history, to something vast and unchanging. Every culture that ever lived told its story in the language of the stars. They saw heroes, gods, monsters, and lovers in their constellations. But beneath the myths, there was always the same emotion: wonder. The quiet realization that we are small, yet part of something infinite. When you think of those who came before, the Mesopotamian priest writing marks into clay, the Egyptian astronomer charting the rise of Sirius, the Polynesian navigator steering by starlight, the philosopher in Greece tracing invisible circles in the air, remember that all of them looked at the same sky, the same patterns, the same beauty, and now so do you. Each generation adds to the story, one discovery at a time. And though the language has changed, from myth to mathematics, from temples to telescopes, the heart of it has not. We still gaze upward, searching for meaning in the stars. Somewhere above, a shooting star crosses the horizon, a brief, bright moment that fades as quickly as it came. For a heartbeat, you are part of that motion. The earth turns, the stars drift slowly westward, and the rhythm of the cosmos continues. You can feel it, in your breath, in your pulse, in the soft rise and fall of your chest. Let it guide you now, the way the stars guided those who came before. Breathe slowly, in and out, as if the universe itself breathes with you. The constellations wheel silently above. Orion, Lyra, Cassiopeia, the Great Bear. Their forms unchanged across millennia. The same lights that shepherded kings and travelers, farmers and poets, wanderers and dreamers. As you rest, imagine the stars whispering once more. Not as distant fires, but as old friends. Their voices gentle, ancient, eternal. They do not ask for anything. They do not rush. They simply exist, patient and constant, waiting for you to notice. And in their stillness they remind you of your place in the story. You are made of the same elements that burn in those distant suns. The same carbon, the same dust, the same light. The universe is not out there. It is within you. So let go of the day. Let the quiet take over. The stars above you are steady, unblinking. Their light, older than all memory, shines softly through the dark. It will still be there when you wake. For now, rest beneath that infinite sky. You are safe, you are small, and yet infinite. And somewhere, across the span of time, every soul that ever looked upward is watching with you. The night holds you. The stars keep watch, and the universe hums its ancient lullaby, a song older than language, older than thought, older than sleep itself. Drift now, breathe. Let the starlight carry you away. Sleep beneath the stars, and dream of the beginning. The echoes of Troy, the fate of heroes, and the lessons of war. The fires of Troy had burned out, leaving behind only smoke, ashes, and silence. The greatest war of the ancient world had come to an end, and the once mighty city, a fortress that had withstood 10 years of battle, lay in ruins. Yet, though the walls had fallen, though its warriors were slain and its people taken, Troy did not vanish from history. It lived on. It lived in the songs of poets, in the whispers of the wind, in the stories passed down through generations. The gods had written its fate, but the memory of Troy would never fade. The fate of the Greek heroes. The Greeks had won their war, but victory did not mean peace. For many of the great warriors who had fought for Helen, their journey home would be long, painful, and tragic. Agamemnon, the king who led the Greeks to war, did not find peace upon returning home. Betrayed by his wife, Clytemnestra, he was murdered upon his arrival, a cruel fate for the man who had sacrificed his own daughter to set sail for Troy. Odysseus, the mastermind behind the Trojan horse, did not return home for 10 long years. Cursed by Poseidon, he wandered the seas, facing monsters, witches, and gods before finally reaching Ithaca, where he would reclaim his kingdom. Menelaus and Helen. The war had begun for Helen's sake, and now she was returned to her husband. Some say she lived out her days in Sparta. Others whisper that she was taken to the Isle of the Blessed, where she would never age. Ajax the Great, the mighty warrior who had fought bravely for Greece, did not see the fruits of victory. Overcome with grief and madness after Achilles' death, he fell upon his own sword, unable to bear the weight of fate. The gods turn away. Having played their roles in the war, the gods withdrew from the affairs of men. The great age of heroes was ending, and the world would soon pass into an age of kings and empires. The lessons of the Trojan War. The Trojan War was not just a story of battles and bloodshed. It was a tale of fate, love, loss, and the will of the gods. The power of fate. No man, no king, no warrior could escape the threads of destiny woven by the fates. Achilles, Hector, Paris, and Troy itself were all bound to their predetermined ends. The folly of pride. Paris' selfish choice, Agamemnon's greed, Achilles' rage. Each played a part in the destruction of thousands. The price of war. Troy burned, but even the victors suffered. No warrior returned home unchanged. The eternal power of stories. Though the heroes faded into time, their legends remained. The tale of Troy would be immortal, passed from poet to poet, from storyteller to storyteller, from dream to dream. And now it lives in you. As you drift into sleep, let the echoes of Troy carry you through the ages, where warriors once walked, where gods shaped the fates of men, where love and war intertwined in the endless sands of time. The stars above shine the same as they did over Troy, their light whispering that stories never truly end. They simply wait to be told again. Drifting into sleep, the end of an era. The night is quiet now. The fires of war have faded. The last echoes of battle lost to time. The heroes have departed, their names carved into history, their souls carried into legend. Sleep now, knowing that even in dreams, the myths live on. For Troy may have fallen, but its story will never fade.